Hi, everybody. Today we have Tom Sargent, the founder of Expensive JPEG. Firstly, I think, Tom, I would really want to start off with why the name Expensive JPEG and where did this come from?
I guess the name Expensive JPEG just because it was funny. In the world of NFTs,
It is.
especially at the beginning, there was a lot of criticism about people, why would I spend money on just a picture of an ape or, whatever it was. And yeah, I just found it funny. It's a sort of, I guess, in the years that come, it'll be a throwback to when we first started.
When it all started.
So obviously Web3 is a huge term at the moment. It covers, NFTs, crypto, DeFi, protocols, infrastructure, Metaverse, the list goes on and on and on. And what we focus on at Expensive JPEG is mostly around helping projects build communities and do marketing, things like that. So I've been a marketer for a long time, I dare to mention, but I've been very focused on originally starting in crypto and then moving into NFTs and the Metaverse for the last 4-ish years, either personally or professionally. And yeah, we help all sorts of projects that need a leg up. When you're starting a project at the beginning, there's so many things for you to focus on: tokenomics, the artists that you're working with, partnerships, all of that. So we just try and alleviate the burden of having to worry about the more mainstream marketing activities that you need to do. We also have some in-house sort of expertise when it comes to Web3 peculiarities in marketing. So, there will always be the need for things like lead generation and funnels and SEO and what I now call traditional marketing. But there are some Web3.
Good perspective, by the way. That is such a good perspective because that's what I think as well now, like in my daily job as a marketer. Most of my side hustles are related to Web3 startups. And as soon as I dive into that, it literally seems like I'm going from like just shifting a timeline or something,
Yeah, it is. It's the same. It's the same as when, the internet came around. People would say, okay, well, why do I need a website? Or, why do I need a social media account or whatever? All my people come from word of mouth or adverts in the newspaper or whatever. And people had to learn to change to become digital, and then they had to learn to change to become social. And if you said to, a company, quite often, particularly with the Metaverse, people say, well, why do I need to buy land? Why do I need something in the Metaverse? People will never use it, and it's going to be where your brand lives and where your people and the customers come from. So start thinking future proofing yourself. That's so we also have, like I was saying, we also have some Web3 experiences and skills in house. Now that everything's brought in on a chain, there's a lot of transparency that we can use when we're identifying our audiences, building up campaigns to target particular people. We can look at transaction history, we can look at purchase history, all that kind of stuff is another layer of marketing which didn't exist before Web3.
That is,
it may have existed, but it would be very hard to get a hold of.
It is. I mean, again, because nobody would really disclose their.
No one would show you their bank account, though.
But now they have no choice because it's just out there, anyways.
Exactly.
But if you were to compare, because again, as a marketer, this is just out of personal curiosity as well. If you were to compare your, let's say, marketing experience in Web 2 and now working with Web, how does that journey look like for you right now?
That's a really good question because it's very different in different verticals or industries at the moment. Some brands that we work with are only getting into Web3. They don't really see it as a viable return on investment at the moment. The fashion industry is a great example. Like, other than Nike and Adidas and a couple, there isn't a real need for like ASOS to be in the Metaverse or something at the moment, but they're doing it to show that they're forward thinking. And they know they're probably going to make a loss on it, but one day they won't. So there's that. And then there's other brands that are genuinely making, very good progress in Web3, particularly anything in finance industry is very well tested now. So it totally makes sense for like MasterCard and Visa and stuff to get involved in crypto because they can see how it's changing. So yeah, when dealing with brands, there's a very big mixture of how people respond to Web3 and where their journey into Web3 marketing starts or stops, I suppose. But it's the best. The approach we always take is we always do in traditional marketing. I've always done discovery calls with clients where you sit down for an hour or so and you work out if it's a good fit between the two organizations to work together. With Web3 at the moment, that hour is more like 3 hours because there's a certain level of education that has to come with it. And quite often, well, no, not super often, but occasionally, we've been speaking to a brand and they're like, we want this Metaverse place and we want to have a game in there. there and all of this kind of stuff. By the time we finished the 3-hour conversation, we worked out that actually there's no Web3 element to what they want. They want a video. It doesn't have to be on the blockchain at all. So they can save themselves 500,000 and just make a game, make a web game. It doesn't need to be 3 enabled. Other people, they see the benefits of Web3 quite quickly once you go through that educational stuff. Yeah, it just shouts out to them, this is what they need to do.
I really appreciate that you mentioned the education part, because right before we started this call, we were also talking about how as marketers, we're so used to the jargon in our world. And then when you come into the Web3, it's an added layer of complexity, right? And the reason why I really wanted you to come on the series is also because you bring in that simplicity to this complex world.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I try and keep things simple if you can. I can't remember who said it. It was probably like Einstein or someone. But if you can't explain something simply, then you don't know it well enough.
Exactly. But then, like, I really want to know, like, how, because again, the perception of Web3 right now, you know, for any newbie or any beginner is just like, I don't really understand. It's too hard to get in. You probably need a certain skill set to get in. I don't even know which brands do I need to work for, or the companies or whatever. So if you were to, you know, talk to them in terms of how to bring in the normal, not retail investors, but normal people, you know, layman, let's say people who are just basically starting off their careers or whatever, like how would you recommend them to get into this, you know, Web3 domain, basically?
I guess the first place is to start doing a bit of reading. There's loads and loads of excellent resources out there. I just finished a series of posts where we looked at a new Web3 project every day for 30 days. That was really exciting, great way to learn about them. But yeah, go and read whatever aspect of Web3 you're interested in, whether it's crypto or NFTs or Web3 gaming. Type that into Google, followed by the word canon, and someone will have made a compiled list of all the best reading of that thing. Or Google Gabby's Web3 reading. It's a free Notion page that has just like a library of information on, and it's not all super scary technical stuff. It's real world applications and things as well. So my first point would be go and learn what it is that you want to learn about, and get the basics and the foundations down. And then I would say go and join a community that's doing something you're interested in. There's a community trying to do everything at the moment. It doesn't have to be a DAO. It can just be a nice community. But whether you're interested in, you know, helping plant more trees, there will be a Web3 project out there that's raising crypto funds to plant more trees. Or whether you're interested in simulated racing or fashion, or I don't know, brewing beer or whatever it is, there will be Web3 communities out there that are trying to do it. Go in, make some friends, you know, 15 or so new friends, and then you will start to uncover how these things work in the real world. And then maybe if you're, you know, risk averse enough, you might start your own community and might start your own Web3 project. Before you know it, you'll be selling pictures, and you might have a whole team of wallets, and it'll be built up very quickly. That's all that these big companies are. You know, you see Bored Ape. It started with just a group of like-minded entrepreneurs that were like, okay, instead of doing fundraising, why don't we sell some pictures? And those pictures will give you access to our community, and they'll give you access to events and stuff. And then bam, look at them now, they're making millions every month.
To me, it really seems like, you know, it's also challenging the sort of a traditional VC setup. You know?
It's in a big way. NFTs and DAOs and crypto in a certain way has become a replacement for VC funding. It's essentially crowdsourced funding, and that's kind of the underlying, or one of the underlying principles of Web3 is this crowdsourced element. I'd say if you could only choose 3 principles to define Web3, one would be transparency, so you can see everything. Another one would be democracy, so you have fair way, or no matter who you are, if you're a millionaire or a pauper, you can vote on things as long as you've got your stake in there. And then the other thing would be community. So those are the 3 things that are different in Web3 that you don't have necessarily in every Web2 project.
But I really want to touch upon the topic of communities, and I really like that you highlighted it quite a few times during the last 15 minutes already, which I really like. In terms of, again, you know, when you want to start in Web3, I really like your advice that join a community, right? But let's say if you are someone who is building a community, sort of responsibility that's on your shoulders is completely different. And being a community on a Facebook page is very, very different from now, where in Web3, you need to sort of build this engaging community on, let's say, on the Discord, right? Like, how would you like compare that sort of an experience in terms of building communities and also the essentials of building a community in Web3?
So first of all, just a quick caveat is a Web3 community doesn't have to be on Discord or whatever. Discord is just a tool for you to communicate and listen to your teammates in your community. In fact, one of the things I quite often encourage with a client is really think about your audience as individuals, because sometimes if it's like a fairly young community, they might be more comfortable on Discord. They like instant messaging, they can share funny gifs. It's great. If your audience isn't that, and your audience is like, 50-plus-year-old hedge funds managers, they're not going to join a Discord. Even if they did, they're not going to talk on it. They might prefer, a daily email, like the Milk Road or something like that, where they can get updates on the project from a daily, and they like email format. They like those. So think about your audience before you just say, oh, it has to be a Discord or it has to be a LinkedIn group or it has to be. So that's worth mentioning. But if you are a community builder, the main thing that you need to remember is your purpose is to provide interesting content and engaging content about the project. You can't just go, here's the Discord, everybody get in, and then they're all in this room and they're like, okay, what are we doing here? There has to be some kind of structure, and you need to provide constant, updates and stuff. I think, again, going back to the crowdfunding piece, if you've ever been part of a project on like GoFundMe, or what's the other really famous? Kickstarter, that's it, yeah. You will see that someone like, let's say I like board games and things like that. So I've joined many Kickstarters for a board. You don't just get the initial post and then you give your $20 and then you wait a year and it comes out. They update you as you go on. They're like, here's our stretch goals. This is our roadmap. This is what we're going to do if you add another £20, or we're all meeting up in LA or whatever for the launch. That's how you need to think of your Discord community as well. You need to constantly be giving them updates, give them more information, encourage them to discuss and feedback what is good and what the direction of the company should be. And then you'll have a good engaged community. Too often you see NFT projects where they've got a Discord community with 10,000 people, and 9,000 of those people will buy the NFT, wait 2 weeks, sell the NFT, and leave the Discord. That's not a community. That's like a big auction house. It's not a community. But we're starting to see those sort of NFT flipping projects die off because the crypto crash has scared them away, basically, which is good.
Talking about it in a bear market, that hits home.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been burned at some point, but do your due diligence and don't join an auction house, join a community.
I really love that. But also, Tom, talking about joining a community, and also, there's so many projects every now and then you keep hearing about that you've also been posting and sharing so much about, which is really, really good in terms of, curating that content and putting it somewhere for people to just go out and see what's happening. Web3 part. But I would really want to understand, like, for example, now you're working on different projects as well, right? So in your case, how do you choose your next project to work with in Web3? Considering every project that you will see will be like, oh, we're going to be, the top 1% that everybody's looking out for. Your next
How
bet.
do I do it? I am quite childish, I suppose, is the best word. I very easily, I see a project and I go, oh, that's amazing, and I go for it. And then I kind of need to pause, let myself sleep on it, and then come back the next morning. Otherwise, I will end up fighting into every project. But have some fun with it as well. Start small. Pick projects that are inspiring to you. I would say, actually, another good thing to do when picking a project is forget about the financial aspect of it. Don't think of it as a way to make money in a quick turnaround. Sometimes too many people see this as just a money grabbing mechanism. Don't, just like you shouldn't buy stocks just for the money in return. You should buy, as Warren Buffett says, at a fair price for a fair product. So buy products that you believe are good and that you're interested in and that sit well with your personal values. Don't just buy for money. So I mean, some of the bigger projects that I'm keen on at the moment are all sort of around sustainability and things like that. So planting trees, more sustainable fashion practices and things like that, I'm very big on at the moment. I have been burned in the past, it's part of the journey.
True, we all learn on the go.
Yeah, exactly, and it's good to fail every now and then. To learn. And another thing, particularly in Web3, a lot of projects held up by the founders. So what you can do, because all of their transactions are open and stuff, if you find a founder that's you've joined a project that they're on and you thought, that was a really great project, go and see what other stuff they're also interested in, because more often than not you might have the same values as them and you'll find a bunch of projects that they're also involved in. You trust them, you might have a bit more trust in the project. It's a good one to do. So
That's
if you find a good set of founders, kind of copy their portfolio, I guess, in that little way.
Yeah, you know, coming into a new space from scratch, in a sense, like moving from, let's say, Web2 marketer now to Web3, there's a lot of things that you have obviously had to learn as well, right? And again, learning on the go, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But I would love to know, like, what are the challenges that you are, let's say, going through right now in terms of your career?
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, how are you dealing with that at the moment?
I'd say one of the biggest challenges we're facing in a lot of areas because of the current crypto climate is source of fundraising. And we have what we call a runway in business, which is basically, you know, if we've got 10 people, we pay them this much. How many months can we go for before we run out of money? How long is our runway? And there's an interesting sort of way of thinking about it is, okay, so let's say we can run this project for 30 more months. At what point in the next 30 months do we have to go, okay, this is not going to work. We're going to run out of runway, we're going to crash. Or, okay, I think this can work, but we need to raise more money. Because you don't want to be raising during a financial recession or a crypto crash or anything. But so you've got to kind of keep your runway as long as you can, so you can keep going until you can get to a point where you can go, okay, let's go and raise more money and extend this runway. That's a challenge at the moment, is trying to balance up fuel that's in the tank, so you're still able to go and how far you can get before you go, okay, we're going to either pull the plug or we're going to go in hard. A lot of companies are struggling with that because no one wants to go and ask a bunch of people for money when everybody else is struggling for money. It's going to be very hard.
Very true.
So that's a big challenge. I think another challenge that we're facing quite often is there's a lot of negative press from different industries. I work with quite a few blockchain gaming projects, and you would have thought that the gaming community would, you know, as a whole, would love Web3. Oh, now I can make money out of all the silly hats and shoes and guns that I have.
Yeah.
But they're really against it, you know, gamers are really against it. And they have a lot of good points, you know. I'm a big gamer. When I've had a long day of work, I like to unwind playing a video game. I don't want to now have to think about the economy of what I'm doing and the social aspect. Sometimes I don't want to do that. All I want to do is plant the little plants and grow them, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to have to think about how much they're going to be worth. And also, a lot of blockchain games are crap, basically. Developers need to make sure they're putting the gameplay first over the economy, the tokenomics, the NFTs. You need to build good games. And then, okay, maybe they'll be good. So that's another one, I suppose. But I think it's a matter of time gaming and Web3 collide properly. You know, if Pokemon Go, when it was at its release and at its peak, was Web3 enabled and had NFTs you could collect and things, the whole world would have adopted NFTs overnight. They would have been so behind it, but it wasn't the right timing.
That's very true. But I feel like since you worked in many different verticals as well within Web3, like let's say you now, you know, more into sustainable fashion. Before that, you also have experience working with Landvault, and then now you're also a gamer as well. So you have different perspectives to give, right? So I just want to understand more about the experience that you've had with different verticals, and also if you can talk about your experience with Landvault as well.
I'll start with Landvault. So my experience with Landvault was fantastic. You know, it was originally a gaming tech company called AdMix, and they were putting real world adverts into games. So rather than having a pop-up ad and you got to wait for the little X and you click it, instead you were driving around a city and you were passing billboards and bus stops with adverts on. So it was a very good way of generating more passive income for game developers by having basically product placement. Google ads, but in 3D.
Basically, yeah.
And you can see how that easily translates to things like the Metaverse stuff. So AdMix became Landvault, and now I think they're the world's biggest Metaverse builders. They've got some 150, 200 Web3 developers, which is insane. And yeah, they do a fantastic job of bringing brands into Web3, educating them, nurturing their brand presence. And yeah, they were a fantastic company to work with, and they're gonna take over the world. I'm pretty. Kind of briefly touched on this, like different verticals have a need to be in Web3 and some don't. And it's slowly being taken over. We've seen the luxury fashion industry has taken off. They've done so well. We've seen a little bit of sort of the automotive industries. We've seen a couple of like electric vehicle launches been also done on Metaverse. Music industry is doing really well.
I am actually genuinely so excited about that. The music industry getting on the. I'm super excited about that one.
I mean, we've had festivals and gigs and stuff in the Metaverse, which has been cool. Yeah, generally, I guess so. The biggest industries are probably the fashion, music, and then maybe gaming, if you don't include finance, are probably the three big ones at the moment. But I'm sure it won't be long before we see tech releases, the events and entertainment industry. You know, I'm looking forward to film festivals in the Metaverse.
Oh man, that would be really cool.
Sports festivals, I think, like, you know. So it's coming. It's slowly going to be branching into everywhere, much like the internet took over everything as well.
Awesome. But if
it might be a while before your local coffee shop is in the Metaverse.
Can you imagine how that would be?
I don't think they can afford it quite yet, but maybe one day.
One day. But I think my last question for you, Tom, and I swear this has been amazing to, just get to know.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
It's really, really cool. Thank you so much for that. But I think my last question would be, since this series is more catered towards people in their 20s, and I feel like people growing up right now are in a really good spot of learning about different, not just verticals within Web2, but also Web3, right? So I would really want to hear more about your side and your perspective on what you advise actually, that people in their 20s should invest, let's say, their time, their money, and their energy.
The best investment you can make at any age, but particularly when you're young, is in yourself. So that's why it's worth going to get an education, and really take the time to think about what you enjoy and what you want to spend the rest of your life doing. It doesn't have to be set in stone. Just sit down, you know, once a week and have a think about where you want to go and where you want to be next week and next year. And then put the time into learning about what you need to achieve that. Whether it's becoming a farmer or it's becoming a Web3, guru, just sit down and think about the stepping stones you need to get there. In terms of financially investing, always do your due diligence. And this isn't financial advice, but take a look, particularly now that we're in a bit of a crash and a bit of a recession. Have a look at the projects that are doing well, and have a look at the people that are behind them and the tech behind them, and see what else they might be involved in as well. It's times like this that gave birth to like Amazon and Apple and Google and things like that. Is they saw an opportunity and that's where they grew from. So yeah, do your research, but have a look at what companies are succeeding in adverse conditions, and then see what else they're doing as well. Pretty good way to go. And yeah, but I guess another thing is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have a contingency plan. Have a backup.
True.
But yeah, I don't worry about things financially too much. Do invest in good things, and the returns will come in one form or another.
For sure. Just being a little more mindful about it, basically.
Enjoy yourself, and don't worry about the dollars so much. They'll come in time.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tom.
Thank you for having me. It's been good and good questions. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. No, I'm really glad that you took out time for this. Thank you so much for that.